Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we are looking at all the new cards for Knights of the Frozen Throne. So to see them, you go over here to the collection and you go to crafting mode and then you click over here on Frozen Throne. That's where you can see them all. We've gone through Druid, Hunter, Mage, Paladin, Priest, Rogue, Shaman, Warlock, and Warrior, and now we just need to look at the neutral cards that can be used by any of them. Now here's the point where cards that we've seen might start to make more sense or be better as far as synergizing and introducing new ways to play. However, I am also noticing that there's only been about 10 cards, if not exactly 10, for each of these characters, which means 90 cards, and there's only 6 pages of neutral cards, which 6 times 8 gives you, let's see, 8, 16, 16, 32, plus another 16, which would be 48 more cards, if my math is right there. Maybe not. That certainly means this expansion is not as big as the last expansion. Is that a terrible thing? Not really, but it does seem like maybe when I open the 100 card packs, I might get almost everything, which would be good, because that also means that they specifically made it so that you had the ability to win 100 card packs worth of gold, which is what I did. I've been noticing they've been giving us free arena runs and gold a lot, and I think that's what they're trying to do, is make it cheaper to get everything. And Windows wants to restart my computer right now. Great. No, don't worry, it won't do it. So the first card is 0 mana, 1 attack, 1 health creature called Snow Flipper Penguin. It's a beast character, and this feels like this is probably just filling in a missing hole in the collection of potential cards. We probably didn't have a 0 mana 1/1 beast previously, or the previous 0 mana 1/1 beast was going to wild, and so they're reintroducing a new version of the exact same card so it can still be played in standard. As they make more and more cards wild, there will be this consistent refreshing and replacing of cards to a certain point where they'll just say, forget it, we'll just keep the same cards and not pay somebody to animate a new animation and a new audio cue when it's played and like think of a new name. But they're not to that point yet. Next card we have is a 1 mana 2 attack 1 health creature called Arthas Veteran. Battlecry, give a friendly minion +1 attack. Nothing special there, particularly just a different combination of numbers to do something we've seen before. I imagine we're going to see a lot of that. But not in this case. We have a 1 mana 1 attack 1 health Murloc. This Murloc will certainly go in my Murloc deck if I can get it, because it has lifesteal. So when it does 1 damage, it will also heal 1 to me. If it does more than 1 damage, it will heal that much to me. Next we have a 1 mana 1 attack 1 health. They're just filling in all the potential 1/1/1s here, called the Wretched Tiller. Whenever this minion attacks, deal 2 damage to an enemy hero. This is actually a very good card. I could see playing this in almost any deck if you don't have any better cards. He won't last that long, but he potentially will get at least 3 damage to the enemy hero before he dies, I would say. Next we have a 2 mana 2 attack 1 health creature called Fallen Sun Clerk. Battlecry, give a friendly minion +1/+1. I think this is only a slightly different than the previous Sun Clerk card. That maybe the previous Sun Clerk was a 1 attack 2 health creature. Or maybe it costs a little bit different. Not too bad though. This is pretty good. When probably not going to see too many spells. It's probably going to be more focused on characters if I was to guess. We have a new 2-mana legendary, which is something that's helpful. 2 attack, 2 health, Prince Colossus. Battlecry, if your deck contains no 2-cost cards, give your minions in your deck +1/+1. Seriously? So people that play like all legendaries and really late game decks are going to get super benefited by this card, whereas new players that are going to have 2-cost cards are going to suffer. Or you're going to play all Murlocs, but even some of the Murlocs cost 2 mana, so I don't think you'd be able to do that. Or maybe you could play all just 1-cost minions. We did see a few 1-cost minions added. I don't know about this one. This one seems like a little overpowered. I've seen one previous card that felt like it might need to get nerfed pretty early. This is another one that feels like that. Next we have a 2-mana, 1 attack, 1 health, Tainted Zealot, Divine Shield and spell damage +1. Spell damage +1, probably helpful for the mage. I don't think it's super easy to have 7 minions on your side of the field doing spell damage +1 to give you eventually +7 on spell damage, and some mage players might actually be playing for that, and the Divine Shield certainly can help. It is a little bit expensive, more expensive, but it gives you 2 abilities for that extra 1 mana, so it's totally worth it. Next we have a 2-mana, 2 attack, 3 health creature called the Tuskar Fisherman. Battlecry, give a friendly minion spell damage +1. If you run into a bunch of these, you could say play this on this and give it spell damage +2, which is the thing. Next we have a 3-mana, 2 attack, 4 health creature called Death Speaker. Battlecry, give a friendly minion immunity this turn. This might be pretty helpful in some scenarios, but it's pretty expensive too, so you'd have to really think it through if you wanted this to take up 1 space in your deck. Next is a 3-mana, 1 attack, 5 health creature called the Yari, the Kari Enchanter. At the end of your turn, your end of turn effects trigger twice. Well, this is going to synergize with a lot of cards, so almost certainly this is a card to play if you have a lot of end of turn effects. Interestingly, the Dread Steed, which was just changed to summon a new Dread Steed when it dies at the end of the turn, might get triggered twice because of this. I'd have to go back and look at it, but it either gets triggered twice this way, or it gets triggered twice by a different card that triggers Death Rattle twice. Either way, this card is going to be useful for a lot of different, very specific scenarios. Next we have a 3-mana, 3 attack, 3 health card called the Happy Ghoul. Cost 0 if your hero was healed this turn. That'll work decently with a priest card, or any deck really where you heal a lot. Here we have a 3-mana, 4 attack, 4 health creature called the High Denier Frost Rider. Battlecry, freeze your other minions. I'm not sure that there's a great reason for this, but if you played this on the 3rd turn, there's a decent chance you wouldn't have any other minions anyways, and it is more powerful than it should be at 4 attack and 4 health for 3 mana. Next we have a 3-mana, 2 attack, 5 health card called Mindbreaker. Hero powers are disabled. This is crazy. This is totally crazy, but this is the kind of card you might need in every single deck you build, just to destroy your opponent's ability. If I was playing against a mage in particular, play this and he can't do any damage with his Fire Blast. That's one to keep an eye on, certainly. Next we have a 3 mana, 3 attack, 3 health legendary card called Prince Taldaram. Battlecry, if your deck has no 3 cost cards, transform into a 3 copy of this minion. I don't understand this at all. If your deck has no 3 cost minions, transform into a 3/3 copy of a minion. This is already a 3/3 copy of this minion. This doesn't make any sense at all. Like, literally. The only thing, and you could think is, there is a card that will summon a legendary, random legendary minion that is a 1/1 version of itself. But it is summoned in, so it doesn't trigger a battle cry. So I have literally no idea what this card is saying, because it's doing nothing. It seems crazy. If it was summon a 3/3 copy of this minion, that would make sense. But the transform, it's crazy. We'll have to see that one in actual play, figure out what it even means to do. Next we have a 3 mana, 3 attack, 1 health creature called the Shallow Gravedigger. Death Rattle, add a random Death Rattle minion to your hand. If you're playing a Death Rattle deck, this makes a lot of sense. And it's not terrible at 3 attack, even though it only has 1 health. Next we have a 3 attack, 3 mana, 3 attack, 1 health creature called Vergul. Death Rattle, if it's your opponent's turn, summon a 2/2 ghoul. We still don't know what ghouls are, but there certainly is some kind of strategy around it that will only reveal itself once we put everything with ghoul in the name or description into a deck, and that will be one of the decks I will hopefully be able to build. Next we have a 4 mana, 2 attack, 2 health beast called Arthas, and he's a legendary. Death Rattle, add a random Death Knight card to your hand. We'll have to look at which cards are called Death Knight, and whether that is a card with Death Knight in the name, or if that is a whole new series of cards that you're going to randomly be added. Either could be the case, and that'll be interesting to see what they are. Next we have is a 4 mana, 3 attack, 3 health creature called Corpse Taker. Battlecry, gain Taunt. If your deck has a Taunt minion, repeat for Divine Shield, Lifesteal, and Wind Fury. So this is probably an amazingly good card. Like, if you have a very balanced deck, put this in your deck. Play it. If you have any other taunts in your deck, you get Taunt. If you have any Divine Shields, you get that. If you have Wind Fury, you get that. And if you have Lifesteal, you get that. That being said, it's very rare that you make a deck where characters have Taunt and Divine Shield and Lifesteal and Wind Fury. There is, however, a Shaman card that has all of these except for Lifesteal. So if that one Shaman card is in your collection and you play this, you get everything except for Lifesteal, and that might work very well. Next we have a 4 mana, 3 attack, 3 health creature called the Death Axe Punisher. Battlecry, give a random Lifesteal minion in your hand, +2/+2. This, I feel like there's a elemental Lifesteal deck out there to be built, but we haven't seen all the cards for it yet. Lifesteal might be a game changer, it might not. It just depends on how many Lifesteal cards you can get on the field and actually use. Next we have a 4 mana, 4 attack, 4 health elemental called Grave Shambler. Whenever your weapon is destroyed, gain +1/+1. This would work pretty good in a weapons deck, not super useful in a elemental deck. If you were playing an elemental rogue and you use 2 durabilities on your weapon, does it work, or is it only when your weapon is destroyed and not used up? That's something we'd have to test, because if you play a weapon that only has 1 durability, which there are a couple of them, and then you attack and then it gets destroyed because you used up all the durability, and this gets +1/+1, that would be a little unfair, but not so unbroken that I could imagine them doing it. We still haven't seen a single spell. Like, we're on the 2nd page here, and no spells. I bet we see very few, if any. I'm not even sure neutral cards have spells, which seems a little weird, but that might be the case, actually. Next we have is a 4 mana, 2 attack, 4 health creature called the Grim Necromancer. Battlecry, summon 2 1/1 skeletons. Again, like ghouls, unless skeletons are special, I assume they're just 1/1 characters. Next we have a 4 mana, 5 attack, 5 health creature called the Keening Banshee. Whenever you play a card, remove the top 3 cards of your deck. When you remove the top 3 cards of your deck, are you discarding them, or are you doing something new as far as a key phrase called remove? That's important, because if you were playing this with in a discard warlock deck, this would be very helpful. Otherwise, this is a pretty awful card. I don't think you'd want to play it. Next we have a 4 mana, 1 attack, 4 health mech. I'm surprised they're putting any mechs in the game. They've really banned almost all mechs, and I didn't think they were coming back as a class of cards. But every now and then we get 1 or 2. This is called the Meat Wagon. Death Rattle, summon a minion from your deck that has less attack than this minion, which could work very, very well if you can continuously give this more attack. But it doesn't work that greatly, because even if you could get this up to a 10 attack and every other card in your deck has less than 10 attack, there's still no guarantee that you would get something high. You may still get something that's just a 1. Mostly I'd say play this in a mech deck, and maybe not even then, and nothing else. Next we have a 4 mana, 3 attack, 4 health creature called the Night Howler. Whenever this minion takes damage, gain +2 attack. Next we have a 4 mana, 3 attack, 3 health pirate. I'm surprised that there's a pirate. I guess there's same way. They're adding 1 pirate, and we needed a few more pirates, I think. It's called the Phantom Freebooter. Battlecry, gain stats equal to your weapons, which means but gain the attack of your weapon and the durability as health in your weapon, which also means this is a new key phrase, stats. We have not seen that word ever used before. So you get a very powerful weapon, trade it with this, you have a very powerful pirate. Not a bad idea. Next we have a 4 mana, 4 attack, 4 health legendary minion called Prince Valor. Battlecry, if your deck has no 4 cost cards, gain lifesteal and taunt. They are literally going up the list here. We've seen a legendary that does something if you have no 2 cost minions. We've seen one that does something if you have no 3 cost minions. And now we see one that does something different if you have no 4 cost minions. So I have no idea what the strategy to all of this is. It seems pretty crazy to me. The only way I imagine you could do this is you'd have to fill up all of your deck with things that cost 10 mana or more, and then play these cards and hope to get these cards each turn. And the benefits you get for each of this doesn't make any sense. Unless there's a card out there that says Prince. Like summon a bunch of princesses. Because each one of these has been called Prince, I believe. Let's go back and look. Prince Talmadan for 3. Prince Khaleesi. So there must be some card that they're thinking about making or that they have made that summons all of these princes out of your deck. Or at least one of them. That's the only thing that makes any sense. Next, we have a 4 mana, 2 attack, 2 health creature called the Baton Rascal. Battlecry, summon a 5/5 skeleton. Death Rattle, summon 1 for your opponent. Not a terrible card, particularly if you have some buffs to make sure this guy doesn't die, or you just play this near the end of the game where it won't affect too much anyways. Next we have a 4 mana, 2 attack, 3 health creature called the Serenite Chain Gang. Taunt, Battlecry, summon a copy of this minion. If you have the card that doubles your battle cries, you would summon 2 copies of this minion, which isn't super helpful. Still just 2 3s, but okay. Maybe you get a couple, get 3 of them for effectively a 6/9, which is pretty good for 4 mana. Next we have a 4 mana, 5 attack, 6 health creature called the Ticking Abomination. Death Rattle, deal 5 damage to your minions. Probably wouldn't want to play this if you don't have anything better. Dealing 5 damage to your minions seems pretty crazy. Next we have a 4 mana, 1 attack, 1 health creature called the Wicked Skeleton. Gain +1/+1 for each minion that's died this turn as a battle cry. And again, if you doubling battle cries, this could work very well. What is the maximum this could get? There could be 14 minions on the field, and you could kill all 14 of them. And then, unless there was a trap or something that would, like a noble sacrifice trap, that you could play a charge character and kill that, then you could get to 16, and then you could double the battle cry twice and get from 16 to 32. So you could get a 33/33, as much as I can imagine would be the best case scenario for this card for 4 mana, which is not realistic that you'd ever get to a 33/33, but on the other hand, you probably more than often than not could get it to a 4/4 for 4 mana. And if you're doubling battle cries, why not? Next, we have a 5 mana, 4 attack, 4 health beast called the Bloodwarm. He has lifesteal. Not a bad card. It costs 1 mana more, but it has lifesteal, so that works. Next, we have a 5 mana, 5 attack, 5 health dragon. We haven't seen too many dragons. I think this is the 3rd, called the Cobalt Scalebane. At the end of your turn, give another random friendly minion +3 attack. Remember, there is a character that doubles at the end of your turn effects, so this works nicely with that. Next, we have a 5 mana, 3 attack, 3 health creature called Corpse Raiser. Battlecry, give a friendly minion Death Rattle, we summon this minion. Again, doubling Death Rattle. We're seeing a lot of at the end of your turn Death Rattle cards, which makes sense thematically. We have a 5 mana, 2 attack, 2 health creature called the Skelemancer. Death Rattle, if it's your opponent's turn, summon an 8/8 skeleton. That's not too bad, although it's pretty expensive. But then double that Death Rattle and get 2 8/8s. Next we have a 5 mana, 5 attack, 4 health creature called Sonborn Valkyrie. Battlecry, give adjacent minions +2 health. This will work well in the priest card, priest deck, and probably not too many other things, but in general it's a good card if you've got nothing better. It's about average. Slightly above average maybe. Next we have a 5 mana, 5 attack, 3 health creature called the Tomb Lurker. Battlecry, add a random death, rattle minion that died this game to your hand. This is an interesting one because it's a Battlecry card itself and it adds a death rattle minion to your hand. I'm not sure you specifically would want this in general. There's probably some really good specific strategies this might work with, but it's crossing a line by being Battlecry itself and then summoning a death rattle. It implies that you would want both Battlecries and death rattles in your deck, and that seems just too unfocused for me, so I'd probably skip that card. Next we have a 5 mana, 2 attack, 5 health Venomancer Poisonous. Nothing super special here, but it's a decent card with poison. It doesn't have taunt, and in general you'd want taunt with poison. But it might kill a couple of characters for 5 mana, which may be worth it. Maybe not, depending on what it kills. Next we have a 6 mana, 6 attack, 5 health dragon called the Bone Drake. Death rattle, add a random dragon to your hand. If you're making a dragon deck, I could definitely see playing this. This would be helpful. I still don't feel like there's quite enough dragon cards to make a 30 dragon deck that makes sense, but this certainly is one that starts to make it make sense. Next we have a 6 mana, 6 attack, 6 health creature called the Furnace Fire Colossus. Battlecry, discard all weapons from your hand and gain their stats. This card is going in my weapons deck if I get it, most definitely. I have a specific deck for the daily quest of playing a certain number of weapons. All that it is 30 weapons cards pretty much. This goes in there, I discard 4 weapons and gain all of their stats. I could easily approach 30-30 if not higher. There is one weapon specifically that's a 7/1, so just discarding that one card would give you 13-7. Next we have a 6 mana, 5 attack, 3 health creature called the Necrotic Geist. Whenever one of your other minion dies, summon a 2/2 ghoul. Again, we need to see what ghouls do, if they're just general creatures or if they have special abilities. Otherwise, this seems like it might be a little weak, but okay. Back to this card, I would say probably don't play this card if you don't have any weapons in your deck, though. Wow, and we're almost done. No 9 mana cards, no 10 mana cards added. We have a 6 mana, 5 attack, 5 health creature called the Baron Unravel. Spells cost 2 more. I could see a lot of people playing this, particularly if you're not playing spells. Just throw this in your deck and make your opponent spend more mana. Good strategy. And you can play 2 of these, so you can make them 4 more. Next we have a 6 mana, 4 attack, 6 health creature called the Skulking Geist. Battlecry, destroy all 1-cost spells in both hands and decks. This again is like a mage destroyer, but a very specific mage destroyer that you probably wouldn't want to play. Maybe, maybe not. You'd have to wait till your 6th turn to play something like this anyways, and so that probably means half the 1-cost spells in anybody's deck is already gone. This could work rather well if you had very specific cards in your collection and then you filled the rest of your deck with 1-cost spells, played this, and then destroyed that many cards so that you could draw the very specific thing you're looking for. But that's a very advanced strategy that most people won't be willing to risk. Here we have a 6 mana, 4 attack, 4 health creature called Spellweaver. Spell damage +2. Spell damage +2 I think is new. I don't think there's another card that does +2. There's some that do +1, definitely. And then there's 1 or 2 that do +5. But +2 is new, I believe. Next we have a 7 mana, 5 attack, 5 health creature called the Mare. Battlecry, give a friendly minion +4/+4 and taunt. This probably isn't too terrible, and it's a common card, so you can have 2 of these in your field and play these on the 7th or 8th turn and power up somebody else. There is one dragon that when it's targeted by spells gets +1/+1, but it wouldn't work with this, so there's no special card that I think this super synergizes with, but it does in general buff cards. And then finally we have the Lich King, which in all honesty, since this whole game is focused around the Lich King, you would hope that everybody would get this in the expansion, but maybe not. We haven't seen an insane amount of legendaries, but enough that I imagine if you just bought 50 card packs you wouldn't get this guaranteed. He's an 8 mana, 8 attack, 8 health creature. And he has Taunt. At the end of your turn, add a random Death Knight card to your hand. So that kind of doesn't really tell us much unless we know what a Death Knight is. And we can come over here and look at all cards. And then look at knights. There is a Black Knight. Come on, game. That destroys things with Taunt. There's a Spectral Knight. Blood Knight. This is a Death Knight. There's 3 cards that reference Death Knights, but they are just random cards. No, there's only 2 cards that reference Death Knights. And none of these others are Death Knights. So again, that's something we're just gonna have to find out about through playing. Let's see. Some interesting things about the changes on the Dread Steed. The Defile card, for instance. Forced Dread Steed, which is a 4 mana card, to have a Death Rattle now. And we've said there's a couple things with the key phrase. I think it's twice. So if we type in the word twice, only a few things have this. Use your hero power twice. Your battle cries trigger twice by Bronzebeard. At your end of the turn effects trigger twice. And your death rattle things trigger twice. So that's going to be interesting too. So that's all the new cards for Frozen Throne. There's still some stuff to do and think about, but at least I have an idea. We're not going to do any crazy new decks. We're just going to try and win. Excuse me. 1 second. Sorry about that. Had a coughing fit. So, up to this point, all of my decks have been built around doing the daily quest. But you can now go to a deck and just copy it out and paste it back in. So you don't need to have standing specific decks for that. Which means, for the first time for me, my focus can now be shifted away from doing the daily quests, which are here, and instead focus on winning ranked play and arena play Although arena play gives you random cards anyway, so that won't really be an issue. But winning ranked play will be now the focus. So all of these decks, when I can purchase the 100 card packs and open them, will certainly be focused on winning, and the Frozen Throne expansion certainly seems like it's going to be helpful for that. And I guess it will be 104 card packs. Well, they get opened because I had a Tavern Brawl that gave me an extra one, or Watch and Learn quest or something. That's it for the card reveals. Let me know what you think about the new cards, and if you see any strategies that I may have missed. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.